Holy hell, there's $35 seats right there. Right there. Plenty of good seats available.
It was a funeral. Silence greeted A.A. Wilson and Dana Bonner as they entered the court for the most important games of their lives. Thousands of vacant seats gazed back at them, a sea of red indifference. This was more than an embarrassment. It was a reckoning. The WNBA recently received a sobering wake-up call that rocked the whole league. And everyone wants to know if they caused this for themselves.
If the Fever and Caitlin Clark was playing in a finals game, let's say against the Mercury, with all that drama around there, would there be a single ticket less than $300? Now, honestly, a single ticket less than $300. I don't think so. I think you'd have courtside seats go for $5,000. If Caitlin Clark was playing, if she was in these finals along with the Fever.
What ought to have been Wilson and Bonner's greatest accomplishment turned become a topic of heated public discussion and disgrace. After struggling to win the championship, they were met with awkward quiet and the harsh truth of their league's allure. The WNBA made promises of respect and advancement, but during the most important time of the year, it seemed as though they had suddenly retreated 10 years. The unfilled chairs weren't the only issue. It has to do with feeling deserted. It was the devastating revelation that the league had failed to properly embrace the newfound momentum for one player rather than for the league as a whole. What will happen to the WNBA next? This finals catastrophe is a serious warning sign. It's evidence that the league's foundation is much more precarious than the record-breaking regular season indicated. They have a decision to make. They have two options. Either they accept that Caitlin Clark is a generational talent who is sustaining the league's significance on her own, or they keep acting as though the Caitlin Clark impact is a sideshow. Because another championship series played in a ghost town won't only be embarrassing, they can either embrace the mainstream appeal that can ultimately make the WNBA profitable and secure, or they may kowtow to the small diehard base. It might be the start of the end. The supporters, or lack thereof, had already expressed their opinions. Websites for tickets turned into a ghost town. For as low as $35, you may enter the WNBA Finals. Give that some thought. The championship costs $35. Parking for an NFL game certainly costs more. Seats were completely empty in several areas. An illustration of the league's utter failure. This wasn't merely a mistake in marketing. The public completely rejected this. The aggressive competitor Dana Bonner didn't contain her rage. The anger in her voice took the place of the arena's silence at the post-game news conference. You work your entire career for occasions like this, and you just hope people care enough to show up, she remarked. The heartache and humiliation were encapsulated in that one phrase. However, some folks don't want to hear this reality check. Perhaps the league and some of its players spent the entire season telling those new fans that their interest was unfounded, even though it's possible that people did care. Recall the story. It involves more than one player. This is where we have been. Be mindful of the game. It was a statement of rebellion against the alleged bandwagon of Caitlin Clark. However, they overlooked the fact that you can't offend the new audience and then expect them to remain when their star has left. After calling the new fans plastics and casuals, they discovered that the casuals were the ones footing the cost. Is it a harsh lesson to be cautious about what you wish for? You must inform me in the comments. Let's examine the hard, cold statistics. A straightforward question was posed in one online survey. Will you be compelled to watch the series? Just 4% of those surveyed replied yes. Hell no, replied 96% of respondents. I'm at a loss for what constitutes a catastrophic failure. In real time, the players in the league discovered that the excitement was a delicate bubble that had burst, leaving them standing in the rubble. Excuses began to fly. Marketing was blamed by pundits. Fans weren't buying the league's attempt to promote the legendary team. Drama was what they desired. They desired stories. They want Caitlin Clark's thrilling enthusiasm for each and every game. Let's be brutally honest. Would there be a single ticket available for less than $300 if Caitlin Clark and the Fever were in that final? Not at all. Seats on the court would cost $5,000. Celebrities and yelling fans would fill the stadia to capacity. There was no issue with attendance in the WNBA. it had a difficulty with interest. Sitting at home was the origin of that interest. There is more to this than just one player. It has to do with a basic misperception of what motivates contemporary sports. It's about rivals, stars, and gripping narratives. The biggest star in a generation was in the league. Additionally, they let a story of animosity simmer rather than constructing the entire environment around her. In an almost empty arena, Aya Wilson, an incredible player and worthy MVP, is currently playing the finest basketball of her life. In the press conference, she stated it herself, her voice brimming with annoyance. Even though we're playing some of the best basketball available, it seems like no one is paying attention. She's not incorrect, but she's not posing the most crucial query. How come no one is watching? Dana Bonner was even more straightforward. It's disrespectful, she said. We deserve packed arenas. She is correct, too. They deserve it. There is no denying their brilliance. Worthiness, however, does not sell tickets. Hype does. Drama does. Superstars do. The fan base divided after her remarks went viral. Some expressed sympathy while condemning the league. However, many others blamed the veterans directly, claiming that this particular circumstance was brought about by their divisive speech and unwelcoming attitude toward the younger generation of supporters. You can't minimize the Caitlin Clark impact for a whole season and then be surprised when it vanishes along with her. The WNBA Championships, which pitted the Phoenix Mercury against the Las Vegas Aces, two formidable teams, ought to have been a simple sell. MVP Aya Wilson takes on the dramatic Mercury. However, the truth was disgusting when the players entered the arena for the first game. There was no finals atmosphere here. This was a scrimmage for the preseason. The league's face, Aya Wilson, was allegedly observed murmuring to herself in shock. The finals are here. Her expression conveyed all. It wasn't conceit. It was unadulterated shock. Let's not sugarcoat this. The league rode the Caitlin Clark phenomena for months. They could only dream of record ratings, packed arenas, and widespread media attention. However, a separate story was developing behind the scenes. A story of gatekeeping, jealousy, and veterans who seemed irritated by the attention that was at last bringing them into the spotlight. Only on their terms did they want the spotlight. After that, the playoffs took place. The Fever and Caitlin Clark were gone. Abruptly, the Emperor had no. Welcome to WNBA Prime Time TV, your #1 destination for everything happening in the WNBA. From breaking news and shocking controversies to player reactions, game highlights, and behind-the-scenes drama, we bring you the stories that everyone is talking about. Whether it's stars like Aya Wilson, rising icons, or league-changing moments, we cover it all, fast and unfiltered. If you're a real basketball fan who wants the truth, the hype, and the headlines, you're in the right place. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and never miss a moment, because this is WNBA Prime Time TV.